Hello parents, this is, I'm Misty Beardsley. I'm going to be your students' math teacher this year, and I'm recording this as a welcome because I just did the Zoom call and realized I didn't hit record on the screen. So I'm going to try to go over everything I went over with them. It went a little bit longer than I expected it to go, but I only had a couple of questions, so I'm going to go ahead and get started, okay? And I'm going to have a section for just math 6, 7, and then y'all can stop the video, and then for pre-algebra, and then y'all can stop the video, and then algebra at the end. Okay? Okay, so first thing was when I sent out your welcomes, I said that everybody needed a spiral notebook like this. It's best, this one's 80 sheets. I got it at Walmart. It actually had this label on it. But I recommend getting the 100 sheet one. I got some 100 sheet ones for my sons, but they're a little bit more expensive than these. But the 100 sheet ones will last you longer, and they're actually a little bit more well made, so pages don't just fall out of it there. Okay, so this is how I want your child to use these. This is going to have all their work in it. And so in the 100-page ones, a lot of them have a pocket folder, and those help a lot because then you could just slide your test in there and keep all your math stuff together in here. Okay, so let me move in close. What I'm going to have them do is when they start their first lesson, I know this is backwards. Sorry, I don't know how to make it the right way. Okay, so I want you to start with notes by saying like lesson 1 notes, and you're going to take notes. So when we're in class, these first 2 weeks, I'm going to be giving y'all probably some videos to watch and then work to do. So I want you to do this for the videos also, is the child will write down their notes, and then they're going to copy down everything that I do, anything that I write on the board. They're going to be writing these down in their notes, unless I say, don't write this down. So usually like in class, I'll write things like in red marker and say, you don't have to write this. I'm just showing you something really quick. But for the most part, you write everything down. And then after they take their notes in class, and sometimes we do 2 lessons, so it would be like lesson 1, and then the next page would be lesson 1.2. I think math 6, 7, we don't write lesson 1.1. This is for pre-algebra and algebra. We title it some different way, but I don't have that written down for y'all. I'll show your students in the lessons. So after you write down all your notes, then their next pages will be their homework. And this is how I want homework labeled, is with the page number and then these. I do not want it to say lesson 1.1. I want the page numbers on here because it's the way I write it in my grade book, and even to write this. So after our lessons, not on the videos, but after our lessons in class, I will say, okay, let's write down your homework. And so they need to turn the page and just write it up at the top of the page. And then this is where they will do all their homework, where they need to show all their work, okay? And then to grade homework. So my grading system this year is going to be 50% is test and quizzes, and 50% is daily work and homework. So for homework grades, they're just in the spiral. They never rip them out. They never turn them in. What I do is when we're in class, I walk around all their desks as everybody's coming in. I say, get out your homework, your spiral book, open it up to homework. And then if this is 1 through 13 odds, then I would check that they have them all written down, that they've shown their work. And then in my grade book, okay, so let's pretend this is my grade book now. I will put a check mark next to their name in the little box. So this will be boxes, right? Not just regular. So I'll have a bunch of boxes, and they will be for each day, and I will check them off. Okay, for each day, not each lesson, but each day. So if they did their homework for the day, even if it was for 2 lessons, they're getting 1 check mark. Okay, so if this, and then I give them a whole grade for each chapter. So if there were 5 lessons in a chapter and they missed doing 1, so these would be worth 20 points each, and their homework grade at the end of the day would, at the end of the chapter would be an 80, right? Because they missed 1 of them. Now, sometimes in our chapters, we have more lessons. So if I had 8 lessons, then they would be worth less points, right? And so it would just depend on how many they got done. If they did all of them, then there would be 100 here. Sometimes I take off points. Oh, I'm sorry. Sometimes I take off points for them not doing like if they didn't finish their homework, but they did some of it, I might put a check minus, and that usually means -5 points. Sometimes I put a half, meaning they only did half of their work, or maybe they didn't show their work or something like that. A lot of times if they don't show their work though, I don't give them any credit. I said, I don't know that you did this, and I'll explain why later on, why I don't give them credit for that. I also do not accept homework late because of this system. The way that I do it is when they come in, after I've checked off all their homework, I go up to the board. Usually I have all the answers on the board and they're checking their homework while I'm walking around. And so a kid who hadn't done their homework could be copying down all the answers or doing the work while I'm checking the work with the other students. So I don't allow late homework. So this isn't a huge part of their grade. Now, if they're never doing their homework, it's going to really affect their grade. But just missing one is not a huge effect to their grade. But I do not accept late homework. Okay, if you're absent, that's different. I want to see all your homework from when you're absent. But no other excuses. Okay, I don't want to hear excuses from parents or from students. If you don't have your homework, you don't get a check mark. Okay. Okay, so let's go over to, I hope everybody understood that. Let's go to your books, you need, this is one of the only things I ask for is a spiral. You'll probably need to replace it in the end of the semester. If you get 100, it should last you through the semester, and then you'll have to replace it with like after Christmas. For algebra and pre-algebra, I'm going to talk about some other things I need from y'all. I'm trying to think what else I needed to say to everyone. Make sure you have pencils sharpened. I am always having to let kids borrow pencils. Oh, I know what I was going to say about the homework. If a kid misses one homework, I'm not going to tell the parents, let you parents know because it's only one time. But if they consistently are missing homework, like twice in a row, or, maybe 3 out of the 5 times, they're doing it every other time, then I'm probably going to contact you. The easiest way for me to contact people is text, because I probably only check my email once a day, sometimes not even that often. So if you want to get a hold of me, you probably need to text me. I get lots and lots of emails. I'm a registrar at a soccer club, and I get tons of emails every day, especially during registration time. So it's hard for me to sift through all of those and catch those emails from parents. So I might be going back to, I can't really remember what else I was if I said anything else about the homework and all that stuff. So let me go ahead and start with the different classes, and then you should be able to turn off the thing after we're finished. Okay, so this is the Math 6-7 book. It's Math 6, but really the 7th grade one is just a little bit, goes a little bit more deeper than this one. And hopefully once your student has done this, they'll be ready for pre-algebra anyway. So for Math 6-7, pre-algebra and algebra, y'all don't need to listen to all this, but I'm gonna try to go quick. This is my teacher's manual. I don't have a student book, but this is what the student should have. If you, as a parent, want to get the teacher's edition, then you can. And you can actually go through their homework with them. And like if it's really small on these teacher's editions. If I assign these, you can have them do all their homework, and then you can have them check it, or you can check it. If you have them check it, I would just have them, give them a red pen or a pen that's other than what they're writing with, and tell them to check it without their pencil so they don't go through and erase and write in new answers. And then you can just work with them on the ones that they missed to say, okay, why did you miss this? Let's check on this. And then you can redo it. So I'm not going to take off points because they got 3 of them wrong or anything from their homework. Unless I just think they're not doing it, trying to rush through it and not do their homework. And I'll probably have a discussion with you if that happens. So if you don't have a teacher's edition, that's fine. There's no problem. You don't have to have it. They're going to be checking it in class. Okay. So that's it for Math 6-7. I don't need any extra things from you. Oh, I know what I was going to tell everyone. When I say no calculators, even when I do say calculators later to pre-algebra and algebra, is your children are not allowed to have their phones out. And you probably should make sure they don't have their phones when they're doing their homework also, because kids can get onto Safari or onto the internet, and they can just type in a problem and it gives them the answer, even in algebra and pre-algebra. So take away those phones while they're doing their homework. And math 6, 7, they will not use calculators at all. And if I ever say, hey, this section we can use calculators, then I'll have calculators for them to use. But no phones at all, ever in my class. So make sure that they know that they're not allowed to have phones. And I usually tell them that too at the beginning of the year. But a lot of students think, well, why can't I just use the calculator on my phone? It's because I can't stand over them watching them and making sure that they're only using the calculator and not getting onto Safari. So, but no calculators for math 6, 7. Okay, so I think that's it for math 6, 7. So I'm going to go on and do the rest of the things. If you're in math 6, 7, you should be able to stop this video and not watch any further. Okay, next class is pre-algebra. So these are the books for pre-algebra. They're very old. The ones I have are smell a little bit old. And I have 2 of these left. So if anybody needs a pre-algebra book, then text me and tell me that you need one so that I can give you one of these. I'll sell them to you for like $10 because they're not in great condition. And I'll even buy them back from you at the end of the school year for $10. Okay, so pre-algebra. You are also going to need the spiral notebook, and it's going to be the same way I just taught everybody else. I don't think I said this in the Zoom class, but they will probably need graph paper too at some point, but I'll let you know when that is. I'm not sure when, and I'll talk to you more about that later. Well, I'm going to talk to the algebra. I'll just talk to y'all both. So this for algebra and pre-algebra is when you buy graph paper, make sure you get either I just bought this at Walmart to make sure that I showed you the right kind. Make sure you buy 4x4 graph ruled, or it will say 1/4 inch. So 4x4 means there's 4 squares in each inch. And so 4 squares down and 4 squares across, which means these are 1/4 inch each. Some graph paper is much smaller squares, and the kids can't write their numbers in them when we're making graphs. They can't get their numbers into those tiny squares. These ones are hard for a lot of kids. A lot of the boys that write really big, some of the girls write really big too, but it's hard for them to shrink down their writing to get in even these. And these are the biggest ones that you can really find that work. So you probably, algebra for sure won't need these until after Christmas. I'm not really sure about pre-algebra, but I will give you plenty of time before you need to know this. And usually I have some in the classroom. I just don't have enough to give to all kids every day that we're using it. Okay, and then the other thing for pre-algebra is, like I told math 6, 7, if you have a teacher's edition, then you can go through and check your homework, which is fine with me. I'm always okay with that. And parents, if you're having a hard time and you want them to check their homework at home, you can always ask me to see it. Like, I can take a picture with my camera of the pages and just send it to you, the teacher's edition, if you don't want to buy a teacher's edition, especially if your kid's having a hard time with them. Okay, and that's it for pre-algebra. So this is, I know what I didn't do at the beginning of this video was introduce myself and tell you all the stuff I told them at Zoom, but that's okay. I put a lot of it into my welcome email. Okay, so that's it for pre-algebra. Just make sure that they have all their stuff. This will be my first time teaching at co-op and out of this book, so I don't have everything as prepared as I do for algebras, but I will get there, and it's going to be lots of fun because I love algebra, and pre-algebra is just getting the kids ready for algebra, so that's great. Okay, so if you're in pre-algebra, you can leave the video. You don't have to watch the rest for algebra. Okay, so now all my algebra parents, this is the book we're using, Algebra 1. Some of these books are older editions, but I found some of the newer editions. I didn't like the way they were set up. The book was set up, and these are cheaper. You can usually find these cheaper, especially since all the students from years before have had them. You can usually buy them off of a parent pretty easily. Okay, so algebra students, this is one thing different for them. Okay, in the back of the book on page 572, you don't really need to know the exact number because it's really easy to find. You just flip back and you will find a section that says selected answers. These are answers for all the odd numbers. You see how it's set up? This says 1-1, that's for lesson 1-1. Here's lesson 1-2. And so they have all the answers for lesson 1-2. So I tell the kids this, so you don't have to keep this from your students. I tell them in class and in my first videos to y'all, I tell them to look in the back of the book for the answers after they have done their lessons. But let me show you an example. Let me find one in the middle of the book here. Okay. So what I suggest y'all do, especially in algebra, is when you have homework and you have like these different sections, is to do 1 or 2. Most of the time I will assign just the odds because I want them to have the answers. Sometimes I'll assign all of them so that they have a few where they can't look at the answers. And sometimes I'll assign just evens if I don't want them to see any answers. But that doesn't hardly ever happen. There's certain reasons I have for that when I assign just evens, probably because I want to check it in class with them and I want them to be paying attention to me checking them in class. They don't always pay attention when they're odds because they're like, oh, I already checked it. Okay, so if I said that I wanted them to do this whole section, odds only, what I want them to do is like do 1 and 3, and then I want them to check in the back of the book to see if they're doing it right. You don't want to do the whole section and then find out you were doing them wrong. So do a couple of them, check in the back of the book. Do a couple more, check in the back of the book. Make sure that you're always doing it right before you do the whole section. Then you come down here and do 1 or 2 from the section and then check in the back of the book and then finish the section and check in the back of the book. Okay, so that's the way I want you to use the back of the book with the answers. And so see, if I just flip back here, those are glossary. So I didn't go far enough in the back of the book. Okay, there's my selected answers. So it's hard. The kids are always like, what page is it on? You just flip to the back of the book and find it. It's in the back, okay, the very back. Okay, what else I want for algebra students is we're going to start the year, these 2 weeks, working on integers. Integers are very, very important in algebra. If you don't get it, if you don't understand the rules for algebra, for integers, the rest of algebra, you are constantly making mistakes. So I really want to stress that these first 2 weeks, even though we're not meeting together, is you need to be paying attention and understanding the rules for integers. Because even though later I allow them to use calculators, most kids, if they see -8 times 3, will say, oh, I know what 8 times 3 is, it's 24. And then they don't know the rules for the integers and they don't put that negative sign on it. But when they really know the rules and they're getting their answers right these first 2 weeks, it makes the rest of the school year go by well. Now, if they don't get the first 2 weeks or they kind of got it, but then they forget later on and they start using their calculator and they're not paying attention to their rules, a lot of kids will still make those mistakes. So what I say to them is you need to push in every single time you have a problem into the calculator, which I wish they didn't have to do. I still have sometimes kids come into algebra not knowing their times table, and we don't go through times tables. So make sure that you are, if they don't know them, then you need to be working with them on those. Okay, and I have lots of ways of learning the times table. If you need suggestions, just ask me. Okay, I already went over graph paper with you, and calculators are next. And I should have said this to pre-algebras because they will have calculators also at some point. I prefer, you need to have a scientific calculator. You have to have a scientific calculator. We don't just do it for adding, subtracting, and multiplying. We use it for a bunch of other things, square roots and all of other kind of functions on there. So you need the scientific one. And I suggest you get the TI-30X just because that's the kind I have. So sorry, my throat's getting dry. When they ask me where a button is, most of the time in the class, I say, if you have this calculator, TI-30X, it's right here. And if they don't, like if they have a Casio or something, then I have to walk over to them. I have to pick up their calculator. I have to look for the button because I'm not sure where it is on the calculator. I can almost always find it. Every once in a while, somebody gets a calculator that doesn't have a button that we use. I don't know how they call that a scientific calculator, but it has happened. But if you already have a calculator, or you see one that's, well, I don't want to spend $5 more for a TI-30X, they're really not very expensive. I meant to look at Walmart today, but I forgot to look at the price. It's okay. You can have those Casios. It's no problem. I don't mind going and helping them. It's just a lot easier when most of the class has TI-30X or TI-30 something. Sometimes they have another letter after them, but they're basically set up the same way. So don't worry a bunch if you already have a scientific calculator, but do make sure that they bring it to class all the time once I ask for it, which will probably be soon as we finish the integers, chapter 1. Then I will probably start asking them for calculators. I forgot what chapter 2 was over. Oh no, it's not until chapter 3 that they're allowed to use calculators. So a little bit more than 2 weeks, maybe like week 4 or 5. So make sure that you have the calculators by then and that they bring them every single time, because sometimes I have an extra calculator with me. Sometimes I don't. And so very often I have 2 or 3 kids. Even when I have a class of 8, there's still 2 or 3 kids that forget their calculator. And then who am I supposed to choose to let use that calculator? So make sure that they stress to them that they need to have those calculators with them, because I will not let them take out their phone even if they forget their calculator. Even during tests, I will not let them use their phone. If they need to use a calculator, and I don't have one available for them, then they'll have to wait until somebody else finishes their test and ask them if they can borrow their calculator. I think that's it for now. I've probably forgotten something because it's a lot shorter than my Zoom was, but we also didn't have questions. So be sure to text me any questions you have. When co-op starts back up, I am usually, when I'm not teaching class, I do have 3 classes, so I will have 2 break times. I'm usually sitting up at the front desk with Tara. I think that will be 9 o'clock, and I think 11 o'clock are my 2 break times. So you can come in and talk to me. Students can talk to me during that time. If they don't have classes at 9 and 11, they can come and ask me questions, come up to the front. I'll come to their table, any of that things. Oh, I should have also told everyone that I do not appreciate seeing students doing their homework in co-op before my class that day. This stuff should be done at home. I understand doing it if you have my class early and you're doing it later at co-op, that's different. But to not have done anything at home on the days that you're at home, you should be doing your co-op work there, not in the co-op break room right before your class. So make sure that you're checking that their homework is done before they, on the days that they're not at co-op. Okay, that's it. I didn't say this, I love teaching algebra. It is one of my favorite things. I wish I could teach algebra 2 also, but they have a different teacher for that. So those of you who are in algebra, if you love math, hopefully I'll get you to love algebra as much as I do. If you don't like math, then maybe I'll get you to like it a little bit, because I love it so much. And I always think of algebra as a puzzle. You're trying to find what this number is. And so we're going to learn how to decode that puzzle. Oh, that does remind me. So in algebra, let's say you are doing a problem like, sorry, this is what takes longer, is this stuff that I forgot. If you are doing a problem like this, most people, sorry that everything is backwards. Most people, even people who say they're not good at algebra, can tell me what x is, right? It's 2. 2 plus 8 is 10. So when we start doing problems that are this easy, which we don't start right away, but we will do some like this at some point, and I want them to show their math, which would be like minus 8, and that gives you x equals 2. When I'm telling them I want to see this on their paper, it's very important that they actually do it and don't say, well, I can do this in my head, and the answer is 2. So a lot of times, like I was talking about with the homework, is I say, hey, I see that you wrote the answer. I'll give you half credit, but I really want you to show your work. And students will say, why do I have to do this? Well, let me show you a problem that we may have later on in the school year. Okay, that we'll have something like this. Now, can you tell me what the x's are in that problem? Can you say x equals this and not show any work? No. So if you haven't learned the basics of what we're going to be doing here, then you're not going to understand how to get the answer here, because a lot of this happens, especially with really smart kids in math, is they try not to do this part because they think they can do it. Even when we get maybe a little bit harder, like 2x plus 8 equals 10, they might still know that x equals 1. And so they still think that, oh, I can solve all these problems on my own. But then we get to some harder problems, or we get to problems that have square roots in them, like this, and then they're trying to figure out how they solve these problems, and they can't get them solved in their heads. So I really stress showing work, especially in algebra. And I will stress all this stuff to the students. In fact, I don't mind if you show the students this video. It's great. I tell them everything that I just told y'all. I'm a very open teacher. Let me know if you ever have any questions, or if you have any problems with your students, or you think there's anything pertinent that I need to know about their lives. And so that's going to be it for this video. Thanks everybody for watching, and I will see y'all this year.